Hi everyone, Janet String Theory here. I want to talk to you today about how to figure out the perfect gauge for a yarn that you've fallen in love with. You want to figure out what fabric, what needle size, and what stitch gauge gives you the fabric that you're looking for. And from there you can figure out, okay, I love the fabric at 5 stitches to the inch. So then you can start looking for projects that have that gauge and you know that it's going to work really well. To do this, you're going to have to do a swatch. And I want you to think of a swatch as being a practice and just to immerse yourself in the process of knitting and be really conscious about the stitches that you're making, the yarn that you're using. Use it as a chance to get to know the yarn. And I think they talk about yoga being a practice, and I think of knitting as being a practice too. So you could practice a new cast on if you wanted to, or practice counting rows, or just some new technique that you learned and you wanna practice it. But making a swatch is a really good way to get to know the yarn, see how it behaves, see what you like about it, and see whether it's worthy of you investing time to make a large garment. Maybe you're making a sweater or a big shawl or something, or blanket. So what I recommend you do when you're making a swatch is, and you're playing at this stage, is to make a swatch ladder. And I learned this technique from Cecilia Campicharo. I was at a retreat where she was, and she was talking about this, and I just thought it was a great idea. So I've tried to do it for several of the yarns that we have in the store so that you can see how they knit at different gauges and pick a fabric that you like. But I recommend, we don't have them for all of them, and I really recommend that you do it yourself so that you get the feeling for what it's like on a yarn is like on different needle sizes. So you look at the way you start. Well, first let me show you. This is a swatch ladder. And basically what I have done is knit different sections. This is Woolfolk Luft, which is typically considered a bulky yarn. And this swatch ladder goes from size 8 needles all the way to size 13. And so basically what you do is you cast on some stitches in your smallest needle. And what you do, look at the ball band and it'll tell you recommended needle size. And then I would go down a couple needle sizes from that just to see what happens. You might really just like it at a tighter gauge. So this, I started at 8, did a couple rows of garter stitch, did my stockinette, switched to a 9, garter stitch, stockinette, switched to a 10, garter stitch, stockinette, switched to a 10.5, garter stitch, stockinette, switched to an 11, garter stitch, stockinette, and then finally a 13. And you can see I got different gauges at each of these, and you get a different feel of fabric. And so you can look at it and decide, oh yeah, this is the perfect fabric for a shawl, or this would be the perfect fabric for a sweater. Mittens, hats, you want to be a little denser. Shawls, you want to be a little looser. Sweaters are kind of in between. So it really gives you a good idea. And then you can look at it and go, oh my goodness, this is way too tight, or this is way too loose. But it gives you a good idea. And then what I recommend is that you put a little tag on it so that you know what needle size you started with and what needle size you ended with. So you can use that for future reference. So this was one that I did for Woolfolk Luft. And then this one is in You So Sporty. And this one is in size 3. And it's the sport weight. So a 3 would be pretty small for that. But we've got size 3, 4, 5, 6, and we went all the way up to a 7 on it. And on screen, you probably can't tell so much of a difference. You can see that it does get a little wider here. The stitches are a little bigger. But in real life, you get a feel for the fabric that you want. So, highly recommend doing a swatch ladder with the yarn that you've fallen in love with. Maybe it's in your stash. Maybe you just bought a skein at the store, and see how it behaves. And then go from there to pick your project. So hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.